So which should you do? Shut down your computer, reboot your computer, or just leave it running all the time? A lot of people like to laugh at us tech guys when we ask them to reboot their computer when we start troubleshooting. And while it seems extremely simple, kind of dumb, or even laughable, there's a good reason behind it, because shutting down your computer or rebooting your computer, they both have a lot of perks to them that help the computer itself. Some of the perks include wiping away all memory from your CPU and RAM, because your processor and RAM, they're volatile memory. They require power to maintain memory, unlike hard drives that they're non-volatile. They don't require power to maintain their memory. Rebooting and shutting down also helps stop whatever tasks that are unnecessarily stealing resources from your computer, restarts all of your computer's operating system's services, shuts down all applications and their services as well. It essentially returns the computer back to its startup state. Sometimes it can even have a performance advantage to your computer because it's wiping away all that volatile memory, and so it's essentially starting fresh on the processor and RAM. So it usually gives your computer a slight performance bump back to where it should have been to begin with. Plus, shutting down the computer helps prevent wear and tear on the computer's moving parts, such as the processor fan, the case fans, the graphics card fans, and even hard disk drives, hard drives. So which should you do? Shut it down, reboot it often, leave it be? Well, there is a fourth option, which is putting it to sleep. Now, we are going to talk about each one of them because they all have their purposes and they all have their pros and cons. If you aren't using your computer for a while, meaning more than 24 hours, shutting it down can save wear and tear on moving parts, returns your computer back to boot up state when you power it back on, and it can prevent hacking into that computer while it's off, as long as you don't have, wake on LAN set up and somebody can wake it up because it's plugged into the local area network. But either way, as you can see on the screen, there's a lot of pros, good things for shutting down your computer. A con would be, well, you have to power it back up. Rebooting your computer is also great, especially when you install new software, uninstall any software. If you're having just any issues in general that are software related, such as drivers, services, task issues, resources being hogged, or even when you do operating system updates. This is because your computer temporarily loses power when it shuts down, which clears all of your memory, such as your volatile memory like processors and RAM sticks. Then it also wipes away tasks, and when it reboots, it boots back into its normal boot state, and it actually has a somewhat of a performance advantage, just like shutting your computer down. I actually try and reboot all of my computers at least once per week, whether it's my work computer or my home computer. I try to reboot them once per week. Putting your computer to sleep is a good middle option for shutting down and rebooting your computer. If you're using that computer later on that same day or even the next morning, putting your computer to sleep essentially leaves it powered on, but in a quiet mode. And that's because your hard drives go to sleep and stop spinning if they're hard disk drives. Your fans also stop spinning, so your computer just kind of sleeps, but it maintains all of your memory. So everything in the RAM and processor, that memory remains because you're still getting power because you have that power in your battery or if your computer's plugged in. While when you open your computer back up, if it's a laptop or you just turn your monitor screen on, your computer goes back to how it was when you left it. So it's faster than a reboot and shutdown essentially. One of the bad things is that putting your computer to sleep doesn't really help troubleshoot or fix any issues. Reboots and shutdowns are still advised. Doing nothing is a very, very bad option. I've seen computers that had uptimes of over 400 days and they were running horribly slow. They had a lot of issues going on. They had a lot of updates that needed to be installed. What I did was I shut them down, opened them up, cleaned them out. There's a lot of dust and gunk in there, caught in the fans and all that. And so between a lot of wear and tear, on the actual fans themselves and the computer staying hotter, And then the fact that it was always on with no reboots, so everything was just hogging resources, and it was just overall just not a good situation. Now, obviously, if you leave your computer on for 20 days, 50 days, it won't be quite as bad as 400 days, but I still recommend either shutting down or rebooting. Even if you use the sleep option a lot, yeah, the sleep option's great, but it still needs that reboot or that shutdown every so often, just because it helps kind of give the computer a refresh. My best suggestion is honestly to utilize the sleep option when you can, which is probably going to be more often than not, and then reboot once a week, and shut down when you're not going to be using your computer for 24 hours or more. That would be my best suggestion to help maintain your computer's software and hardware for the longevity, for as long as it can possibly last, or until you decide you just want something new. I hope you learned something here today. As always, thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe.